Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are opening up a file on, well, arguably the single most important concept in personal finance. We're talking about something Einstein supposedly called the eighth wonder of the world. That's compound interest.
Yeah, it sounds, very mathematical, maybe a bit dry. But compound interest, or CI, it's really the engine. It decides if you're building wealth or, well, digging yourself into a hole with debt.
Right. We've looked at a bunch of sources for this, from guides like Black Bullion to Investopedia, and they all circle back to this core idea.
Which is?
That CI is interest calculated on your starting amount, the principal plus all the interest you've already earned from previous periods.
Exactly. Interest earning its own interest. It's exponential.
So our mission today is pretty clear. Figure out the mechanics here, understand what levers we can actually pull, and make sure this incredible power works for us, not against us.
And critically, it's not just about getting rich, though that's nice. It's almost defensive. Inflation also compounds.
Ah, good point.
So if your money isn't compounding faster than inflation, you're actually losing ground, losing purchasing power. Time is always ticking.
Okay, let's break it down then. Maybe start with the basics. Simple interest. How's that different?
Simple interest is, well, simple. You earn interest only on the initial money you put in, your principal.
Okay.
So let's say you put £1,000 in an account at 3% simple interest for 2 years. Year one, you get £30.
Right.
Year two, you get another £30. Same amount. Your total is £1,060. The calculation base never changes.
But compound interest, that's where things get dynamic.
Totally different.
Yeah.
With CI, using the same numbers, year one looks the same. You get £30. Your balance is £1,030.
Okay.
But in year two, you earn 3% not just on the original £1,000, you earn it on the new balance, the under £1,030.
Ah, so you get a tiny bit more interest.
If you had £30.90 that year. So your total is £1,060.90.
90 pence more. Doesn't sound like much.
It doesn't initially, but that tiny difference, that 90 pence, that's the seed. Over decades, it explodes into, potentially millions.
And that brings us to time. You hear it constantly. The earliest years are the most valuable.
They absolutely are. The math is stark. The sources often use this comparison about when you start saving. It really hits home.
Let's hear it. This time advantage thing sounds almost too good to be true sometimes.
Okay, imagine two people. Both get a, say, 6% annual return. Investor A starts saving $2,000 a month at age 20, but, and this is key, they stop saving completely at age 40.
So 20 years of saving, then nothing more. How much did they put in total?
Over those 20 years, they contributed $480,000. Now, Investor B waits. They only start saving at age 40.
Okay.
And they save the same $2,000 a month, but they do it until age 60. Also 20 years of saving.
Right. So Investor B also puts in exactly $480,000, same principal contribution. What happens when they both hit 60?
It's incredible. Investor A, the early starter who stopped, they end up with around $3.07 million.
Wow. And Investor B, the late starter.
Investor B, despite saving the same amount later in life, only has about $928,000.
That's over a $2 million difference from the same $480K invested. Where does that extra $2 million come from?
It's those extra 20 years. For Investor A, the money they put in between age 20 and 40 just kept working, kept compounding on its own for 2 whole decades.
While Investor B was just starting to save.
Exactly. The momentum of that early money is just massive. It shows that putting in more money later often just can't make up for lost time.
Yeah, that hammers home another point I saw, that even if you start small, like $100 a month, but you start young, say at 20, you can still end up with more than someone who waits until maybe 50 and starts putting in $500 a month, even though the late starter invested way more actual cash.
Absolutely right. Time, the T in the formula is just your most powerful ally, but it's not the only thing you can influence.
Good point. Let's touch on the formula, not to get lost in the math, but just to understand the parts. There's $1 is P1 plus RNNT. So P is principal, your initial amount.
Yep.
R is the annual interest rate, always as a decimal.
Typical point, yes. 5% becomes 0.05.
T is time in years. We've covered how crucial that is. What about N?
N. That's the compounding frequency, how often the interest gets calculated and added each year.
And this matters.
Oh, it matters a lot. Something banks and investment companies, pay close attention to. For an investor, more frequent compounding, a higher N is better.
Why is that?
Because if your interest compounds daily instead of annually, you start earning interest on your interest much sooner. Even slightly sooner makes a difference over time. Think high-yield savings accounts. They often compound daily or monthly.
Okay, so higher N helps your savings grow faster. But what about when you owe money?
Then it works aggressively against you. Credit cards often compound daily.
Ouch.
Yeah. That's a huge reason credit card debt can feel impossible to escape. You're paying interest on yesterday's interest every single day. Compare that to maybe a bond that compounds semi-annually, twice a year. The frequency really changes the game.
So, thinking about controlling these variables, what are the common slip-ups people make when they are trying to calculate this stuff, maybe using a spreadsheet?
It often comes down to aligning the time periods correctly, especially with that N. People forget to match T, the time, with their rate.
How so?
Well, if you have an annual rate R, but you're calculating interest for just 6 months, you have to make sure T is 0.5 years, not 6.
Ah, right.
And if interest compounds daily, like on a loan, making sure your time variable accurately reflects that daily period when you're trying to figure out accrual, that's where mistakes creep in.
Okay, makes sense. Let's shift from mechanics to impact. We know it's powerful, but it works both ways. A double-edged sword. Let's start with the good side, building wealth.
Right. A good illustration is this story of Warren and Charlie. Two friends, both starting around age 22, both getting a decent 7% annual return.
Okay.
Warren is Mr. Consistency. He invests $500 every single month, religiously, for 40 years.
Solid discipline. And Charlie?
Charlie gets lucky early on. He inherits $10,000 at 22. He invests that lump sum. And that's it. He never adds another dime to it for the next 40 years. Just lets that initial $10 K ride.
Okay, so Warren is the steady saver. Charlie is the set-it-and-forget-it guy relying purely on time. How did they end up?
Warren, with his consistent saving, retired with almost $1.2 million.
Wow. Consistency pays off.
Hugely. But Charlie, his initial $10,000 just left alone to compound for 4 decades, grew to nearly $150,000.
That's still pretty impressive from just 10 grand.
It is. It shows that while consistency builds the big wealth, even a single early investment, given enough time, can become really substantial. Time does the heavy lifting.
That's the dream scenario.
Yeah.
Now, the flip side, compounding debt, where this exponential growth becomes, well, a trap.
Yeah, the debt examples are frankly chilling. It takes someone we'll call Brandon. He has $50,000 in student loans at 7% interest. He's making payments every month.
Trying to do the right thing.
Absolutely. But the problem was, his payments weren't quite covering the interest being added each month, never mind touching the principal.
So the balance didn't go down.
Worse, it went up. After 10 years of making payments, his $50,000 loan had actually grown to over $65,800.
He paid for 10 years and owed more.
Yep. The compound interest outpaced his payments. It's brutal.
And I imagine credit cards, with those higher rates and daily compounding, are even nastier.
Oh, absolutely. Consider Amanda. She's got $10,000 on a card, charging a staggering 25% APR. She's trying hard, paying $150 a month.
Which sounds like a decent chunk.
It does, but at 25% interest compounding daily, that $150 barely makes a dent in the interest charge. Forget principal reduction.
What happened after a year?
After 1 year of making those $150 payments, her $10,000 debt had actually increased to over $10,786.
Unbelievable. The daily compounding just ate up her payments and then some.
Exactly. It just keeps digging the hole deeper. It shows why tackling high-interest debt has to be priority number 1.
Okay, so the mission is clear. Maximize the good compounding, kill bad compounding. What are the practical steps? Let's start with that mental shortcut you mentioned.
Right. Action number 1. Get familiar with the rule of 72. It's a super simple way to estimate exponential growth in your head.
How does it work?
You just take the number 72 and divide it by the interest rate. Use the percentage number, not the decimal here. So if the rate is, say, 8%, you do 72 divided by 8.
Okay, 72 divided by 8 is 9.
Right, so it'll take roughly 9 years for your money or your debt to double at an 8% rate. It's just an estimate, but it's surprisingly accurate and really useful for quick checks.
So if I'm getting 6%, it's 726, 12 years to double. If I'm paying 18% on a credit card, 72, 22, 18, only 4 years to double that debt. Yikes.
Precisely. And you can flip it for inflation, too. Use the rule of 70 for inflation. It works a bit better for lower rates. If inflation is running at, say, 3.5%.
Okay, 70 divided by 3.5, that's 20.
It means the purchasing power of your money gets cut in half in about 20 years. That really underscores why just keeping cash isn't enough. Your money has to be earning a return that beats inflation just to stand still.
Which leads perfectly into action number 2. Priorities and consistency.
Absolutely. First things first, always attack that high-interest debt. Credit cards, payday loans, anything with a punishing rate. Get that negative compounding stopped.
Makes sense.
Then, for investing, it comes back to what we saw with Warren. Consistency. Start early, even if it's small, and just keep at it. Automate it if you can. Life happens, maybe some months you save less, but the habit is key. Showing up consistently feeds that compounding engine over the long haul.
And the final action, maybe the hardest one, dealing with the psychology of it all. Staying the course.
Yeah, this is crucial. Markets go up, but they also go down, sometimes sharply. And when your portfolio drops 20%, 30%, the emotional reaction is fear, panic.
You want to sell, cut your losses.
Exactly. But that's often the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
Selling in a panic locks in your losses and means you miss the eventual recovery. Remember, if you're still contributing consistently.
Like with dollar cost averaging.
Right. A falling market means your regular contribution is actually buying more shares, assets, whatever, at a lower price. It sets you up for better returns when things bounce back. You have to have the stomach for the long haul. Treat that investment money like it's, gone on a long voyage for decades.
Okay, let's wrap this up. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Compound interest, it's just math at its core, right? Pure logic.
It is. But applying it effectively takes discipline. It takes controlling those variables we talked about starting early to maximize T, understanding the frequency, and just being consistent.
Right.
And don't forget that deeper point. Compound returns aren't just some optional extra for getting wealthy. They're essential because inflation is always there. Also compounding, silently eating away at your savings.
So if your money isn't earning and compounding at a rate higher than inflation,
You're losing purchasing power. You're actually getting poorer over time, even if your account balance stays the same. Investing becomes a necessity, not a luxury.
that really reframes the whole thing. So the final word, we really encourage you. Go check your own numbers. Use an online calculator sites like the SEC's investor.gov, have good ones. See how compounding is working for your savings, or maybe more urgently, against you with your debts.
Yeah. Start early if you can. Be consistent. Pay down that bad debt. Make sure this eighth wonder is actually working for you.
Go check your numbers.